Well, I'll start with a few thank you. I want to thank employee-owned S Corporations of America and Stephanie Silverman for their work. S Corporations were the more recent, but many, many years, ESOP kid on the block. And you may not know that ESCA has a strategy of very focused networking of highly influential and sophisticated members of Congress, and I think that they have been extremely effective in doing this. Many of us do not see their small conferences, their networking sessions, their intensive research, and Rutgers has been very pleased to partner with them on some of this research. Thank you, but they have a very important role here as the sort of elite fighting corps in policy, and we appreciate them. I also want to thank again the financial services firms that have supported us, Prudential, JP Morgan Chase. The support of the Ford Foundation has been very important, and the Sorensen Impact Fund. And this relates to my comments that if you can bear with me for 3 or 4 minutes, about the first part of this conference, which focused on the tent, who should be inside and outside the tent, and how big the tent should be. This is a matter of, I think, of important debate. I think the tent should be very big, and I've tried to share with you some historical perspective. So let me sort of take you back in the Star Trek time machine to the 1880s and talk about 1880 to 1920. What was happening? There was a smattering of very small smattering of pure worker cooperatives around the country, which were barely holding themselves above water. And then a few people who they all thought were outside of the tent, big finance people, sat down and were thinking about the future of capitalism under what they were observing is mass urbanization, industrialization, and development of transportation systems. One of them was William Cooper Proctor, Republican, who managed the 1920 presidential campaign of one of the leading Republican people. Proctor essentially invented something very similar to an ESOP at Procter & Gamble, using cash profit sharing, loans, and dividends to help workers buy stock. When he was trying to get his candidate, who almost won at the Republican National Convention, elected, employee ownership was the center of their campaign idea. Proctor heard about employee ownership from his professor at Princeton University, who talked about it in his theology class. Okay, all right. So what Proctor did at Procter & Gamble set the stage for a lot of other imitation of their plans. No, it was not a pure ESOP. It was not a pure worker co-op. But the point I want to make is that purity and homogeneity has not served the idea of shares for workers well. Then you had George Pillsbury, who created a whole series of broad-based employee ownership plans in Pillsbury. Most people don't know, again, I love going to these dusty archives, that Pillsbury, in his nighttime activities, was advising the worker cooperative barrel makers in Minneapolis and giving them personal loans of credit to keep that was a very important group of worker cooperatives, to keep them alive. Pillsbury was big business. John D. Rockefeller, who designed a employee ownership plan, which again was very similar to the ESOP. He even added more than Proctor by providing low interest loans to buy the stock. De facto, the impact and the operation of the Rockefeller plan was essentially like the ESOP. And then Rockefeller organized something called the Special Conference Committee of about 20 top CEOs and businesses around the country who called for broad-based employee ownership as a solution to the differences between capital and labor. Now, it's important to understand that when all of these people were working, we didn't have tax incentives and tax policy because we didn't have individual income taxes and we didn't have individual corporate taxes, until we had the 16th Amendment in 1913. But all of the laboratory work they did in their companies, and they were not pure, right? Procter & Gamble, Standard Oil, and Pillsbury were about as far from purity of worker cooperatives than you can get. And yet, their work informed Wall Street, informed Washington, and set the stage once we got the 16th Amendment on corporate income tax, individual income taxes, to begin the discussion and get tax deductions for employee ownership plans in the United States. And I just want to use this as an illustration. Today, we're talking about KKR. We're talking about another piece of legislation in Congress to change tax incentives for broad-based employee equity compensation plans. We're talking about the expanding ESOPs initiative. We're talking about EOTs. We're talking about ownership works. To have a homogeneity and purity agenda regarding all of this, history does not suggest that that is the right approach to take. History does not suggest that that is the right approach to take. Sure, ESOPs are a very special form, as are worker co-ops, with very special standards of inclusion and fairness. But the broader arguments to Wall Street, if you look at American history and the involvement of the big figures in Wall Street, has done a lot to legitimate the idea of broad-based employee ownership in the United States. Thank you very much, and I'm so appreciative of our wonderful partnership with Aspen and the entire team of 10 to 15 Aspen and Rutgers people who put this together. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, everybody, for sticking with us today. I also want to thank, we do actually have a live stream audience that's been with us pretty much most of the day, so huge thanks to the live stream audience for sticking with us. I gather the live stream actually worked today, which that was a plus. I really want to thank, actually, our Thursday afternoon planning committee, right, who's been meeting for months and months and months to plan this, right? So Matt Helmer, Merritt Steuben, Adria Scharf, Melissa Hoover, Jack Moriarty, I don't know where Jack is, Bethany Dennis. I shouldn't do this without notes. I started scribbling down notes. They're incomplete, so I probably am forgetting somebody. But it's just really taken a huge team. I also want to thank Francis Almodovar, who shows up and takes pictures for us, Finney and Maxwell Johnson, Amanda Finns, sorry, Finney, who show up and just pitch in and help out, like Bryn Morgan shows up, Seaning Young was around. Like, my team just shows up and says, what do you need? And fills in the spaces, because it takes a lot of work to put these things on. And I'm just so grateful for you all for showing up and for helping out. It really is hugely appreciated. And what I am really taking away, and I hope what we're all really taking away, is that in this moment, there's a lot of promise and there's a lot of work. And I think we're all taking away things that we need to start doing. As Stephanie mentioned, maybe like starting to talk to somebody new, pushing us outside of our comfort zones a little bit. I really appreciate Margot pointing out the expanding Overton window, but there's the moment, right? And so I think what hopefully we're all taking away, and I hope you're not all taking away what a pain in the neck I am about like making you come back in the room. But I was really thrilled actually with the number of conversations, how much you're connecting with people, how much you're making plans with people for what you do next, right? And so that's what I hope we're all taking away, is sort of thinking about what do we do next. We all can see the benefits of broad-based employee ownership, many forms, lots to do. So thank you all for being here, and let's get to work. Looking forward to hearing how it all goes next year. Thank you very much.